This here is an example of one, very classic corporate greenwashing from Adidas, but two, I think a more nuanced point that sustainability in business is not going to be just about changing the things that we do, but very seriously and substantively changing the things that businesses and business leaders value. Markedly valuing people and the planet more so than profits, not just alongside or as another consideration. And so here we have Adidas, the landing page for their sustainability initiatives with a bold mission to end plastic waste, and likewise a very bold statement. Adidas sees the possibilities to make what's best for the athlete better for the planet. So they're doing these various things. Adidas wants the world to see the possibilities that they see and follow Adidas by taking action to help end plastic waste with them, because that's what they're doing. So we all always have places to play. Uh, you know, Innovation is there, so rethinking materials, processes, reducing our footprint. Notable here, which we'll talk more in just a second, is them mentioning a partnership with Allbirds, a company that's really built their brand around the idea of sustainability, sustainable footwear predominantly, and they've expanded to sustainable apparel. And so that partnership with Allbirds, I think, is notable, and we'll dive into more so. But at the same time that Adidas is mentioning this bold proclamation, the environmental mission to end plastic waste, Adidas event shut down by protesters in Portland, Oregon, as factory wages become hot button issue for sneaker and garment industry. So the U.S.'s top Adidas executive sat down at a business event in Portland, Oregon. Protesters disrupted the event, saying that Adidas stole wages from garment workers in Cambodia. 30,000 workers owed 11.7 million, and shut the event down temporarily. I think things continued on later on. And so we look into this a little bit further. And we see fashion brands fail to address pandemic era wage theft. Cambodia, garment workers deprived 109 million. Adidas, VF, Target, Nike, and Gap owe 109 million US dollars in wages during April, May 2021 national pandemic lockdowns, according to Cambodian trade unions and the Clean Clothes campaign. Specifically, Adidas is linked to the largest wage theft in the factory sample. The losses inflicted on 30,000 plus workers across 8 Adidas supplier factories since the beginning of the pandemic adds up to 11.7 million US, 387 per worker. And they correctly make the point, this is a meager amount to a company like Adidas, who in the first quarter of 2021 reported 650 million in profits. So, two things happening at the same time, right? We have an Adidas making these bold proclamations that they're on a mission to end plastic waste, right? The environmental component, surely in a way a distraction from the ways in which fundamentally the operations of their business are just so egregiously exploitative, heavily on the environment, but not really a true focus on the value of what that might mean to value people more so than profit. And these issues are so intersectional and overlapping, and we're only seeing that and learning more and more about how that is in fact the case. And so clearly it's greenwashing, trying to take a position of leadership in one area while at the same time very egregiously exploiting, another component of people or planet somewhere throughout the way in which their business operates. Another nuanced component, however, is that they did mention their partnership with Allbirds, and I think that this poses what I think is the most interesting question. As a couple of years ago, Adidas and Allbirds partnered to create what was at the time the lowest carbon footprint running shoe to date. I think Allbirds just recently made an announcement that they've created an even lower carbon footprint shoe, maybe net zero shoe. And so, this collaboration though here between Adidas and Allbirds showed what's possible when competitors work together as collaborators. And so my question the question for Adidas, the partnership of Allbirds is a great one, right? There's really no question actually to that front. Adidas gets to benefit from the credibility that a brand like Allbirds has built for themselves. Their attachment to certifications like the Certified B Corporation certification, um, and everything that Allbirds has done. I mean, we even look here right on their homepage, very representative of their ethos. Down here at the bottom, can sustainable shoes save the planet? This is their approach to sustainable footwear and sustainable apparel. Um, Bold list of commitments, right? So Adidas gets to benefit from Allbirds, but then what are the impacts on an Allbirds from partnering with an Adidas? And so there's a theory of change as we're thinking about how to change business very fundamentally, and as aligned with the community that Allbirds is a part of, the Certified B Corporation community, that business is to markedly be a force for good. And so Allbirds is posing this theory of change that they're going to work with the existing establishment. Allbirds is likewise just recently became a public company, and partnering with an Adidas, clearly has an opportunity to give them a lot more resources, maybe ID, name ID internationally, globally, just being affiliated with a brand that so many people obviously know by name, and change things from within. But those examples of wage theft, and that's certainly not the first time that Adidas has been implicated or revealed to be doing something so egregiously exploitative. Allbirds is making this bet that that's the way in which we change things for the better. I wonder if this doesn't undermine more so Allbirds and likewise some of the greater movement of the sustainable business community than it benefits, because I don't think that Allbirds personally can benefit strictly from the partnership while also accept no culpability, responsibility, or anything or affiliation with what Adidas is doing throughout their supply chain. I haven't seen any statement from Allbirds condemning Adidas on this reporting. Not that they haven't, not that they wouldn't if they were asked, but also it's been a couple years since this stuff has taken place, and I haven't seen anything. Maybe someone could show me to that, but I personally think that this undermines Allbirds' credibility, and it lends questions ultimately to the legitimacy of the claims that they're making themselves. If they're comfortable to partner with a brand like Adidas and see that it's well worth working to help Adidas change within, while at the same time Adidas still today, as protesters are showing by disrupting that event in Portland, still haven't paid back those garment workers in Cambodia during the pandemic. That Allbirds is comfortable working with a brand like that for what they think is maybe a greater change that is possible. If that's how they fall on that line, I'm not sure that it continues to be a net benefit. And it's something I think that's a bit of a cautionary tale for other brands in the sustainable business movement community, whatever you want to say, for who they decide to partner up with and what sort of approach to changing business that they decide to take. Because to me, this just looks more so like, again, changing the things that we do to be more sustainable, at least for the perception of sustainability, uh, versus actually fundamentally changing the things that we value, valuing people and planet more so than corporate interests. Changing values is really going to be what's going to change business and actually deliver, I think, on that promise that communities like the Certified B Corporation a community make, that business can be a force for good. And so I think that this poses some tough questions for Allbirds. Be curious to hear what anyone else has to think.